Hey everybody, Chuck Barone. It's Wednesday, June the 21st, 2023. Welcome to the show. We appreciate you guys being here. Appreciate you guys watching the videos, doing everything you do for us every day. Hope you guys are getting something valuable out of what we're doing here for you guys. All right, so let's look at these markets today. It's just been a fascinating week so far, guys. So today we had Jerome Powell and sitting in the House of Representatives before I guess it's the House Banking Committee or Finance Committee or one of their committees, being grilled by the knuckleheads in Washington. Fascinating stuff. Powell striking a pretty negative tone, pretty bearish, driving the markets down today. So Powell's comments making the markets feel pretty negative. So here's what we have. Dow Jones down 102 points. 33,951 on the Dow. The S&P down 23 points, 4365 on that index. The NASDAQ drops 165 points, 13,502 on the NASDAQ. So markets, they're down, negative, but not in anything dramatic, certainly not anything resembling any kind of real earth-shaking numbers. But the tone seems to be getting negative. The market digesting the fact, at least what the chairman and the Federal Reserve have been emphasizing, this rate-raising cycle is not finished yet. The market's starting to come to grips with that, leading a little bit of a downturn. So bond market today, not much happening in bonds, surprisingly. The 10-year at 3.73%, basically unchanged. The 2-year only up 2 basis points, 4.72%. So now we have almost a 100 basis point, almost a full point difference. And this inversion between the 10-year and the 2-year. Now, I don't know how traders think, but I do know that if I have a choice between buying a 2-year at 4.72 or a 10-year at 3.73, I'm taking 4.72 for 2 years. Number one, it gives me the chance to get out in 2 years to reinvest the money if rates are higher. Doesn't lock the money in for 10 years. So I just don't understand how the market is in any way attracted to a 10-year note or a 10-year bill, bond, whatever, when a 2-year is a point higher. Fascinating stuff. Dollar today down again today. Not a good day for the dollar. Barely hanging on. 102.06. Trend down on the dollar. If it gets down under 102, you're going to see a nice surge in gold and silver. So let's see. That's probably coming sometime next couple of days or into next week. Metals today, though, in spite of a weaker dollar, down today. Gold down $3.20. $1,932.60 for an ounce of gold. Silver down 49 cents per ounce at $22.65 for an ounce of silver. Again, nothing earth-shattering here, but metal was really trending up, breaking out up. Now it seems to be kind of settling, having some difficulty getting back above those numbers, those resistance numbers, 2,000 for gold, 25 for silver. So we'll keep an eye on that and be reporting that to you guys every day as well. Oil today up $1.34 per barrel, $72.53 for a barrel of West Texas Intermediate. Just exactly as we've been telling you guys. It wants to be in that trough between $70 and $75 per barrel. It's been staying right there in that trough. If it breaks out, whether the upside or downside doesn't really matter because it just doesn't hold that breakout for very long and slips right back into the trough where it's comfortable. So until it breaks out in a meaningful way, let's just figure oil going to be between 70 and 75 a barrel. Bitcoin today has a nice day. Up $1,825, $30,002 for Bitcoin, back above 30,000, a huge rally just over the last couple of days. It looks like there really is a market for this stuff, guys. It's going to be here. Now let's see what happens with regulation and how Bitcoin and other cryptos react, because there is regulation coming. When you have the SEC involved to the extent they are, there's going to be tough to get out of it without that. So it's going to be fascinating to see it. But in the meantime, Bitcoin more than holding its own, $30,000. All right, so let's talk about Powell today. So today, twice a year, Powell has to trudge his way up to Capitol Hill, spend a day in front of the House and a day in front of the Senate. So today was House Day, and Powell striking a very bearish tone today, sounding very negative, at least about the state of inflation in the economy. He said that the inflation fight, this is a quote, had a long way to go to reach the 2% target. He said that inflation pressures were still very high. He said it will not be easy or fast to get back to 2%. And I'm here to vouch for that, guys. Remember what I've been telling you. The last time we had a real inflation like this, it took the Federal Reserve years, more than a decade, to get rid of that inflation. Now, granted, they made mistakes that they're hopefully are not going to be made again. It looks like looks like the Federal Reserve has learned from that experience. But now with this pause, we're going to see how inflation is going to react to no more increases, at least no increase this month. The market now betting that there's going to be an increase coming in July. I haven't really thought hard about that yet. It seems likely that the Fed wants to raise rates. He talked about that as well today. He said that nearly all the voting members of the Federal Reserve Board agreed and expect further rate hikes this year. He said the Federal Reserve Board understands the hardship caused by inflation. Sure they do. These are guys who are all multi-millionaires. They're worried about eggs being $1 more expensive. But whatever. And they are completely committed to getting inflation back to the 2% goal. I don't know if I believe any of that. I don't really understand. I don't really know if they understand the hardships working people are feeling. If they did, they certainly wouldn't be trying to stifle jobs and wage gains, at least as much as they are. And it's funny to me that the CEO can make $262 million, but the worker on the floor are going to get $15 is a big threat to the whole economy and the way our way of life and business and everything else. It just doesn't make much sense, but fantastic testimony today. He said, this is great, he said that the effects of the increases so far have only been effective on the very interest rate sectors of the economy like housing, which I've been telling you guys since this rate started going up. He said it will take a lot more time for the full effects of their rate increases to be realized throughout the entire economy, especially on inflation. So I guess he's suggesting that the whole economy has to feel the effects of these increases before inflation does. He said the lag in the effect throughout the economy is what makes it really hard for the Fed to know when they've raised rates high enough to get back to their 2% goal. Now what happens is, the Fed, if they raise rates too high, let's say 5% would be enough, where we're at right now, 5.1% would be enough to get inflation back to the 2% target. But the Fed raises rates to 6% instead. That extra point of tightening typically strangles the economy out and causes a recession of some type. That's where you hear the language of this soft landing stuff coming in, or sticking the landing, like this is some kind of sports competition, and that the Federal Reserve is somehow going to manage to nail it with the interest rate hikes working perfectly to bring inflation down back to its target while not causing a recession in the economy. Well, I got to say, that would be some kind of magic act. To my knowledge, I don't know if it's ever actually happened. I can't remember it, where they just were so perfectly right on with what they wanted to do that it all worked out perfectly. I haven't seen that yet. So we'll see, because the Fed apparently planning to continue raising rates this year. The market expecting at least another 0.5 point of increases. That's quite a change, because they were expecting 0.5 point of cuts not that long ago. So now the market figuring 5.6% on the Fed funds rate by the end of the year. we'll see if that's going to be enough. I think that if you get a really hot CPI number, a shocking number, or PPI, which has really come down pretty dramatically, starts to go back up, I don't know if half point's going to be enough to battle that. So it's going to be interesting, and we're going to, of course, give you guys all of the details as this stuff continues to move forward. Now, guys, let me emphasize again to you, please remember the basic lessons that we emphasize and we've been teaching you guys on this show. Please don't mistake the simplicity of these lessons for ineffectiveness, because these lessons are the very beginning and foundation of real wealth. Okay, so what are these lessons? Let's start at the top. Number one lesson we've been preaching the hardest and the longest: save something from all of your income. Every time you get paid, save some money. As much as you can. Ideally, the number is going to be around 10% of your income. So if you're making $1,000 a week, you're saving $100 a week. Most people can afford to save 10% without a dramatic change to their lifestyle. You might have to make a sacrifice of a Starbucks or two, or a cocktail or two, or maybe miss going out to eat once or twice in the month to do it. But putting 10% of your income away, or at least a portion of your income, is the very beginning. Because once you're saving money out of all the income that comes in, even though you're not mathematically wealthy, you don't have $1 million in the bank. You basically are wealthy because you already don't need all of the income you're producing. So you're already living in plenty. You're living in surplus. That's where it starts. Now you add on. Invest that money very conservatively. Don't reach for, big returns. Better a smaller return without loss. Because what happens typically is when people don't have a lot of experience investing and they reach for bigger returns, they end up with losses. Better a small gain than a loss, right? Not only invest the money conservatively, but I tell you this, invest the money under the direction of people experienced in handling money. I'm not saying you need to go get a financial planner. Unless you're at a certain level of wealth, you certainly would need that. But at least be talking to somebody who has experience in this market, who you know for a fact, not just what they say, but you know for a fact has had success investing in the stock market. Those are the people to be listening to. If you don't have a person like that, someone truthfully, genuinely successful investing money, then you have to play it on your own. And the less mentoring you have, the more conservatively you should be investing. Also, number 3, no new debt. Do everything you can do to avoid adding on new debt. No new debt. No new cars with gigantic payments. No using the credit cards for that one thing you guys got to have that you can't pay off. Use your credit card, fine. Just make sure to pay off the balance at the end of the month. Stop adding new debt on and learn to live within your income, live within your means. Number 4, if you already have existing debt, start to pay that debt down. No matter how small the additional payment is, even if it's an extra $5 a month on your credit card, an extra $10 a month, pay that extra amount. It's going to go a long way toward retiring that debt. And I tell you this, guys, living debt-free in some ways is a little bit of a challenge, especially at first getting used to it. But after you do, it's the best way of life there is, because your income goes so much further when you don't have to sit down the second you get paid and basically pay out your whole check paying bills, right? So start to pay down existing debt, no matter how much, a little bit at a time you can pay. And then final, number 5, spend your money thoughtfully. I'm not saying don't buy the things you want. I'm not saying especially don't buy the things you need. What I'm saying is spend your money, but spend it thoughtfully. Try to stay away from the impulse stuff. Try to stay away from, the thing you don't need to have right now, especially if getting that thing comes at the expense of saving money. To get the things you need, get some of the things you want, Just be thoughtful and make sure before you buy anything you want or need that you're putting away your 10%. All right, guys, that's it for the day. We'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow is Thursday, so we'll be back to bring it. Tomorrow we'll get employment data. We'll get a little bit of a data to talk about. We'll see how the market digests Powell's testimony and the rest of it that goes with it. It's going to be a great day tomorrow. We appreciate your guys' support. If you guys can, please hit the like button. It changes the algorithms. It makes our video, puts our video out there in front of more people. We're trying to get new viewers on the show, trying to increase our subscriber base. If you could hit that like button, we really would appreciate it. Of course, ask your questions and your comments in the comments section. I'll get on today, be answering some of your guys' questions. We'll be back tomorrow to bring you the news you need, guys. Until then, take care. Thanks.